I've played most Shin Megami Tensei games, and out of the dozens out there, Soul Hackers 2 may be the one I've seen try the hardest to carve out its own identity from the rest of the pack, for both better and worse. The first thing I want to get out the way is that this game does indeed take place after the first Soul Hackers game on the Sega Saturn, but with that being said, the two games had nothing to do with each other plot-wise, and the most you'll get from having played the first game is recognizing some side NPCs. So if you never played Soul Hackers 1 and want to jump straight into 2, you most certainly can. Soul Hackers 2 takes place in a dystopian cyberpunk version of the mid-21st century where demons roam in the shadows of society and devil summoners tame demons to use for their own ends. You control Ringo, a newly born artificial human tasked with stopping an imminent threat that has the potential to wipe out humanity. To clarify a bit on both those points, there exists this entity called Ion, which is essentially a conscious hive mind of information that observes humanity, and when it calculates an impending doomsday for humanity, it creates Ringo as one of its two human avatars to walk among the humans and stop the impending doom. The other of the two human avatars is Fig, and together she and Ringo set forth into the human world to protect two humans whose deaths will supposedly lead to this impending doomsday. I like Ringo and Fig a lot, and the characters of Soul Hackers 2 in general. While Ringo and Fig are technically AI constructs with one express purpose, they both have their own individual personalities and reactions to the things around them. Ringo is more laid back and often sarcastic, while Fig is the more soft-spoken and polite of the two. You quickly meet your other three party members, Arrow, Melody, and Saizo, and I was surprised just how much I ended up liking all of them. And I think a big part of why I did is the simple fact they're all adults, dealing with relatable adult issues. Most JRPGs have you following a group of high school students, and having only adults made Soul Hackers 2 feel like a breath of fresh air, as mundane as the reason may sound. Life has taken Arrow and his lifelong best friend down separate roads, and now they're forced to kill or be killed. Melody is actually the girlfriend of the game's main antagonist and is out to kill him after he betrayed her, and Saizo is trying to get away from the shady life of a devil summoner with his girlfriend, but the life caught up with both of them, not only forcing them back in, but putting them on opposing sides. They all have a lot of baggage, and I like seeing their chemistry with each other and overall well-roundedness over the course of the game. And not just the three humans either. Fig in particular surprised me in finding something she cared about in her new life as a human other than the mission assigned to her. Ringo herself doesn't get too much development or depth, but she acted as the glue that held the entire party together, so it was fine. Together, the five set out to find the 5 Covenants, mysterious energy sources that grant power to whomever they reside inside. You can think of them like much more simplified and powered down Infinity Stones, if that's an easy analogy to wrap your head around. The only way to get a Covenant, however, is to kill the current possessor and take it for yourself. Legend has it that if you have all 5 Covenants, you can call for the god and reshape the world into whatever form you wish. So I'm sure you can see why everyone wants them. This is the driving force behind the plot of Soul Hackers 2, and while I didn't find it super amazing, it kept my interest and the characters more than carried the narrative for me. More than the characters, the big thing I loved about Soul Hackers 2 was the atmosphere the game sets up. Like I said, the game takes place in a cyberpunk dystopia, and while it's a different type of cyberpunk vibe from its predecessor, the mood is set very well in my opinion. From the blinding neon shopping districts to the flashy outfits everyone wears, it's easy to get immersed in wandering the city. And the game being as beautiful as it is, running at a smooth 4K 60 frames per second, certainly helps in enhancing the awe factor. This is without a doubt the best looking game the Shin Megami Tensei series has seen so far, outside of maybe Persona 5 Royal, depending on your personal taste. Though sadly, this visual flair is regulated only to outside of dungeons. For whatever reason, these vibrant buildings and scenery don't translate over to any dungeon in the game. You'll either be trekking through abandoned subways, plain buildings, or most often the Soul Matrix, Soul Hackers 2's optional / actually not so optional dungeon, but more on that later when we touch on gameplay. Aside from the visuals, the other big contributor to completing the vibe of the game is the soundtrack. This may have been my absolute favorite part of the game, honestly. I don't think a single track is forgettable or feels out of place. You're greeted with the high-octane opening theme song when you first load up the game, the chill, laid-back theme when your characters are hanging out at their hideout. As soon as you enter certain parts of the city, you'll be hit with either upbeat, busy music from the shopping district, or moody and hard-hitting synth waves when you go to the Devil Summoner exclusive district. district, and of course the battle themes were no slouch either, with the boss themes in particular being something I could listen to on repeat. The soundtrack was done by Monica, the team behind the highly acclaimed music of the Nier games, so if you're at all familiar with their quality of work, you'll know you're in good hands here. In the beginning of the video, I said that Soul Hackers 2 may be the most drastic example I've seen of a Shin Megami Tensei game trying to set itself apart from the pack, and that's really exemplified in the gameplay. If you don't know, usually in Shin Megami Tensei games, you fight alongside demons you've recruited in turn-based combat, where targeting an enemy's elemental weakness will grant you more turns. And in Soul Hackers 2, you neither fight alongside demons as party members, or have much of a risk-reward system for targeting the weakness of enemies. If I had to sum up the role of demons in Soul Hackers 2 in battles as simple as I could, it would be that they're more accessories than anything. You see, you equip demons to yourself, and similar to how it works for the main characters in the newer Persona games, the demon you have equipped to each party member determines most of their stats, including elemental affinities and skills. You don't even get to see them alongside you in battle doing animations. Hit the weak point of an enemy, and you do get to see Ringo summon them for what's called a Sabbath, which is literally just an all-out attack from Persona. Though to throw an interesting wrench into the mix, some demons have Sabbath abilities, where there's a small chance for an additional effect to trigger during a Sabbath, like healing your party in proportion to the amount of damage you've done, or poisoning any living targets afterwards. Demons do have another use outside of combat though, and that's Demon Recon. When you're walking around dungeons, you'll often see your current demons standing off to the sides. Talk to them, and based on what icon they have above their head, they'll either give you items, money, heal you, or even let you recruit a local demon in the area. Yes, demon negotiation is here, but this is the most basic it has ever been. Any demon you attempt to recruit will ask you one simple request, like a portion of your HP or a super common item, and then they will join you without fail on the spot after this one simple request. Whether this is a pro or a con in comparison to the more volatile nature of demon negotiation in games prior will likely be up to the personal opinion of each player, but I did feel such a staple of the series being so watered down was a bummer. Since demons are here, you can of course fuse them, and it works the same way it has in the past. Pick 2 demons and sometimes more, and fuse them into a stronger demon with the inherited abilities of the 2 parents. Like every other modern SMT game, you can choose by hand which abilities get passed down, though I do have to note this game felt more restrictive in regards to what abilities were compatible with the resulting demon. I think more than half the time I tried to fuse a new demon, the best abilities from my older ones weren't eligible to be passed down, making me hang on to them longer than I would have wanted and taking up space in my demon stock. But maybe this is just bad luck on my end. Soul Hackers 2 also lets you customize the comp of each character, granting you stat bonuses and often unique and powerful abilities, like the option to swap demons mid-battle. If you're unfamiliar with the comps of Shin Megami Tensei, they're the devices humans use to summon their demons. In the original Soul Hackers, they were embedded in guns, but this time around they can be pretty much any weapon, from a gun to daggers. You implement these comp upgrades with money and resources you get from slain demons, and I personally have fun upgrading my characters over the course of the game. Completing certain side quests will unlock further upgrades to not only your comps, but also increase the stock of item stores and give you discounts on summoning demons. The side quests in general in Soul Hackers 2 are mostly pretty mundane, but every so often you'll get ones for great rewards like new demons to fuse, or even more backstory on party members. Even with those latter ones though, is usually go here and either collect X amount of item, or kill this many enemies. Dungeon exploration is okay. Like I said earlier, the dungeon locales are all pretty boring and none really stood out to me. Enemies pop up on the map in the form of red creatures that will chase you down on sight. You can hit them with a swing of your sword, and after they're knocked down, you can either choose to run or initiate a battle, with a slight chance to start with some of the HP of the enemy shaved off. The game has regular story dungeons, but there's also the Soul Matrix, a multi-layered dungeon that has you diving into the psyche of each of your human party members to expand on their past leading up to when they met Ringo. And this is also where you get new exclusive abilities for your party members, great ones at that, like the ability to run faster in dungeons, teleport out of dungeons, or give extra power to Sabbaths. The issue I have with the Soul Matrix is that the game sets it up as this optional dungeon, And it technically is, but no one in their right mind would skip it, and after the first couple floors, any appeal it would have had wears off, and you almost dread having to go through it to learn more on your characters and get new abilities. And something that didn't bother me as much, but I know will bother others, is that unless you're purposely skipping even a portion of the encounters, exploring the Soul Matrix is going to make you overleveled for the main story, almost guaranteed. Soul Hackers 2 isn't the most challenging game to start with, but so long as you're around their level, some bosses can indeed give you a challenge. Despite these issues, I still really enjoyed my time with Soul Hackers 2. I got really attached to the characters and wanted to see even more of the world that the game laid out. Ringo was a great step in the right direction for how the SMT series should handle protagonists going forward, easily outclassing all of her fellow mute protagonists from the series' past. It may be very different from its predecessor, but for me, that certainly wasn't a bad thing. If you want more JRPG content like this, check out my review of Digimon Survive, where I go over why it's a brave step forward for the series. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and consider subscribing to see more. Thanks for watching guys, I'll see you next time.